here for, I think this is the second to last one, maybe the last one, but wherever you happen to be tuning in, if you're tuning in right now or if you've been following since the beginning, my name is Dr. Snedeker. This is my podcast where I just kind of riff on topics, off the cuff, stream of consciousness. Full disclosure, my consciousness is it has a headache. So there might be some seconds where I'm like trying to piece together sentences and words and my brain just doesn't want to do it. But that's beside the point. I have some things to talk about because my start to 2022 took a very sharp left turn, and I think it's going to be indicative of how next year's going to go, but we'll see. All right, so at the top, housekeeping. If you're just tuning in now, if you found me through this podcast, you can find me elsewhere, because after 2021, this podcast isn't going to happen anymore. So if you want to interact with me in any capacity, you can support over patreon.com/Dr. Snedeker. You can go to DrSnedeker.com for everything else. All those good things. You can listen to Mitten Backstage. You can listen to Life is a Piano. Which, disclaimer, Mitten Backstage is going to be my focus. Life is a Piano is going to be quarterly, is the idea. I want to be able to get 4, interviews with keyboardists and put them all out in the same month. I don't want to try doing, bi-monthly and then, something gets canceled or I get busy and something happens. Pianists are busy, so it's hard to add that to my schedule, let alone ask other keyboardists to add to their schedule all the time. But there's some exciting people that I'm going to be talking to for that podcast, so you want to keep an eye out for that. And then Mitten Backstage, like I said, will continue. That'll be kind of the focus. Seems like a lot of people enjoy that one, so I'm going to keep going on with that. But 2022, it's near. It's coming. The march of time stops for no man. But here's a little story time. So story time. I was looking forward to going up to Ludington and doing a musical. Hadn't done one since right before the pandemic. There was no musical for 2021, so I was looking forward to seeing all those people again, and I was going to get put up in a cottage so graciously donated by one of the the donors that support the college up there in Ludington. And that's a good way to kick off the year. It's slower months, get a place to kind of have like a working vacation of sorts, get paid well, have fun, get to escape into a musical for a little bit, a nice distraction from the world. Taking 2 months off of socials, which I'm still planning on doing. And with that might be podcasting as well. I might just do interviews and get stuff prepped and have like a spring launch. Because that's how I'm going to be my own boss. I don't need to put stuff out all the time because that's a lot of work. And it was a lot of work this year. But things changed. This past Monday, I received a phone call from the director of the West Shore Community College music program. And, sounded exhausted, understandably. I can't imagine being a teacher, let alone directing a department during, pandemic times. And he was saying, you know what, we're going to have to move the musical The city's got a 25% infection rate. The hospitals are overwhelmed. Every event that I've done this semester has resulted in some form of breakthrough case or, someone getting infected and needing contact tracing and school being shut down and protocols going into effect and delaying things to keep everyone safe. And that's just like mainly students. You can't even imagine like probably the audiences of some of these things. Elderly, vulnerable people. So the decision was made to postpone the musical. But what does that mean for me? Well, in plain terms, because COVID rates are so bad, I am out 2.5 months of work. Now, there's some stuff rumbling, but it's hard to book 2 months on a 2-week notice. So the next 2 months are going to be an insane time. Instead of this relaxing, minor return to some form of normalcy, making a good chunk of money to like go throw towards debt, kick off the year on a good note, I am now having to scramble for work. Such is the life of a freelancer. But you just gotta figure it out. You gotta pivot. You gotta blah, 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 blah. Being a freelancer, you gotta jack of all trades and master a few of those, and then you can get work, and then I'm tired. I'm so exhausted, I didn't wear my exhausted hoodie. I was like, that's too much work pulling it over my head. This one is it's an oversized zip-up one. But seriously, like, it's gonna be a crazy next couple of months. It's gonna be it's gonna be finding distractions from spending money, going out in public, improving myself, healing, resting, making sure at every turn that I'm not spending what little money is coming in. I'm gonna have to apply for some things to kind of pad this dip in income. It's never easy. Like I mentioned in a previous episode, I talked about a gig that got canceled that I was going to get $500 for. That's like, a week before rent is due. Also, not good at all. Like, not good. And that's been a hard thing to grasp. Like my success in the music industry thus far, some notable performances, some notable work in academia in terms of being involved in collegiate education and being involved in ensembles, all these different things. As I approach my 30s, there are tweaks to the mechanism of money coming in, how it's budgeted, where it's going, even just overall tracking of it. Like, I would be able to track it easier if I spent less money, I guess. Because I most of my excess money spending goes mainly towards food. Like, it's still, it's still a vice, it's still a comfort, it's still a treat. It's a treat for the what was it, the quote, and I probably said this before, one of the best things when you're poor is a good meal. So, you're trying to capture that feeling of like, no, I am doing good. I was able to afford a tasty dinner with a friend, which I could do, but, there's going to be less of that, which it will be a good thing in the winter months, stay out of the line of fire from COVID. It's in the Omicron stage, so I'm getting my booster on Saturday. So when this airs, it will have been the day before. Um, on a show day, no, because I just love making things hard for myself. I just want, I just want, I just want 3 uninterrupted days where I feel each day I get stronger and more rested. Because all of my days off have been functional. They've been to, you know, barely get enough sleep and preparation to travel. You know, it's been to do very basic work. Or not basic work, but basic, like, these are my days off. Like the vacation I took, I was sick because my body was like, oh, you're taking a break. Well, we have a list of things that need to happen. I'm noticing very clearly how much I've lapsed in my diet, and salt and sugar, so good but so bad. I now know why I was in such a malaise of like oh, I keep getting headaches. Caffeine, sugar, excess salt, all are contributing factors. Poor hydration, all these things that I built up, they've been a little bit lax because of the holiday. So I need to get back on that track. And what is this podcast if not to explain my life and reflect in real time with myself, but also with you, the intrepid listener, the person in their car, the person at home, the person listening on their phone, the person setting aside time maybe to listen to this or watch this. And I'm more fortunate than others, but since this is my podcast, I also have the free reign to just kind of express my grievances. I did that earlier this month. But with the musical being canceled until potentially next fall, it might move to winter 2023. It shows a trend. A lot of musicians, a lot of them, need big events. We need them. We need those events that are like corporate sponsored, collegiate sponsored. They're, you could pay your rent with one gig. Like those are the gigs that I keep a handful of those around just in case. Because, an extra $600 on top of what you already planned for is awesome. But an extra $500 when it really matters, like that's more huge. In the coming months, I'm taking a step back, really focusing on myself again, like really truly doing that. The holidays have been insanely busy. And it's been a lot. It's been tiring. I know once I get the booster on Saturday, I'm gonna be out. Like I'm only here right now at Third Coast to record this podcast episode. I'm packing up my gear that I left here. I'm going home. I'm gonna take a shower, and I'm going to relax. I'm going to maybe play Overcooked 2 because I'm almost done with the extra levels, and then comes the challenge of can I 3-star everything? Because what else do I have to do during the holidays? I have a penchant for, is penchant the right word? I have a compulsory need to just be busy. And I realize part of the busyness I could have needs to come from behind the scenes. Setting up systems to where anytime I record something, money's coming in from a royalty, or, you know, not saying that every local artist is going to do that, but set myself up for success. You know, have money coming in all the time from different places, which I do, but it's mostly work that involves my time and my energy, and my talents. Obviously, I'm performing or recording, but I need some of that money coming in. That's just like, it's not passive, because I'd have to make a thing and then put it into that engine of like the algorithm and all that. But just stuff that, you know, it just adds that extra layer of security. Like, realistically, if I could double my income, that'd be sick. You know, just make like, what, 60,000 or something. I think I make, I don't know. I have to reflect on all my finances for a podcast that I'm going on. So expect that. When Songs Mean Business is the name of the podcast. And I'm going to be talking with Steph Belcher and being very transparent about my debt and my expenses and how bad I am at finances. Because, you know, who's really good? If you're good with money, you either were raised with it or you experienced something where it changed your behavior and you were like, nope, I need to save as much money. I need to earn as much money. And it, you know, because in our lovely American system of everything is driven for profit, it leaves the people who have time and talent and things kind of buried beneath a sea of noise. You know, most programming nowadays is just like, it's just, you know, it's, what is television other than dressing up ads sometimes? Like, the shows that get greenlit, that's like, okay, another procedural cop drama or something. And then, all right, you know, oh, was he the killer? Well, no, it was the sister. What? And then it goes to Mr. Clean, Mr. Clean. And then you learn about the Mr. Clean Magic Eraser Pro Plus. It's 35% more absorbent, so your stains are a thing of the past. Mr. Clean, and then you go to the next commercial, and it's just like, what is it? I don't know. The State Farm one. That's not it, but, you know, State Farm comes up and is like some young hip dude in a polo is like, oh yeah, insurance. And then it's just like, okay, we're back. The killer, we've just found out it was his sister. Put out an all-point bulletin on the sister. Make sure she's in a blue Ford Focus and the license plate JF75. You know, like, it's just so, it's exhausting to like do anything because it's just buried under a sea of capitalism. And when you notice it, it becomes that much more draining. When you notice every inch of paved ground for some people is just to lay that business mind, that hustle grind. And I'm very tired, very tired of the hustle grind. I've hustled and grinded, and I've gotten to this point in my career where I now can say I can do the smart hustle and grind where I don't die. You know, I've had so many friends who are just workhorses they're all breaking down. All of them are having to reevaluate their lives. And it wasn't just because of a pandemic, but, you know, a lot of people's habits and things, you know, the chickens have come home to roost. And it's, you know, I guess that happens when you're getting closer to your 30s. All your invincible looking friends start to break down. And, you know, people kind of open up more about like, oh, it's hard living life. And then other people are buying houses and other people are having families. There's the keeping up with the Joneses mentality. And I'm just trying to get any sort of footing. That's all I want for this next year is footing. It's been 2 years. And this isn't accosting like the precautions that we've had to take as a society. I understand that. It's just 2 years of being a freelancer in a pandemic is hard. That's why I know so many people who've pivoted to other work that at least is salaried or has some sort of recurring income. Because to exist as a creative when art was already devalued, like for every person who's like, I love live music. This is my first show back since the pandemic, and you guys just sounded great. For every one of those persons, there's like a million other people who are like, why should we care? Why should we care if a musician gets paid enough? Because they're usually the talent buyers. They're trying to stretch every dollar. They're justifying lowballing the locals, which is how it always is. You invite the locals in, they build the scene for you, they build the community, then start hiring based off of the buzz at this hip new venue. And then you hire national acts, and the local acts are like, can we open for them or can we have slots? And then it becomes less and less and less. And that's how it always happens. That's why I'm so happy for like people that give me a chance for a residency, because I see the potential in more vibrant, like not even vibrant, more consistent quality of presentation. Because if you book me for four dates in a row in a month at the same venue, I have to step it up. I have to present something slightly different each time, or I have to present high quality each time, engaging, good fun guests, whatever it might be. So I don't know. This episode's weird because I'm wrapping up a thing, but I'm also having to radically change my life in the span of 2 months. Because of how the chips have fallen. In an alternate reality, maybe I would have, an alternate reality, Dutcher's still doing the musical. Maybe he gets sick and then can't, maybe he's down for more months, or maybe everything, there's a reality where everything's fine and the COVID rates go down. There's probably even a world where like the U.S. handled COVID exactly the way you needed to. And if you're sitting here like, all he's been talking about is COVID, I'm sorry. Are you the one person who wasn't affected by a global pandemic? Like, it's literally something I have to deal with on a weekly basis, and other people have to deal with it on a daily basis. Like, especially now that it's the winter time and people are back in town and people are traveling into Michigan from all sorts of biomes and different infection rates, and people who are vaccinated, some people unvaccinated, some people who haven't had the booster. I still need to get the booster myself. And I'm getting it on a day that I know the next couple of days I can rest. So I don't know. The stream of consciousness for today is very much like, I'm so exhausted. And I keep saying that, and it just keeps getting worse. I'm so tired. There are people I know who have slept less than me who are more insomniac. I'm not much of an insomniac. I just happen to, have weird second winds sometimes late at night. But please, everything that you do, just think about the greater world around you. You might think throwing that piece of trash on the ground is meaningless, but then a squirrel eats it and dies, and then someone eats that squirrel that's full of plastic, and then that animal dies, or like, I don't know. You think like, oh, it's just me by myself in this thing. Well, unless you're literally only living in your house, like you're going to interact with the public at some point. So be mindful, be patient, be understanding, be kind and caring. You're not the main character of Earth. I'm not the main character of Earth. I'm barely the main character of this podcast. I feel like my brain is the star. and I'm just along for the ride, like, yeah, whatever we're going to talk about today, here we go. And maybe that's why this episode's a little bit shorter too, because what else is there to say when something you've spent a whole year reflecting on, the changing climate? February was quarter capacity restaurant, and now we're back to full. That's a huge journey for gigs. It went from no work to having a residency for 4 months and rolling into a season where I got to play a festival and some other outdoor gigs and some other concert series. Like, there's no guarantee of anything right now, and to have anything happen is insane. But as I explained, the next couple months are going to be crazy. It's an uncertain future. I've weathered storms like this before. It might get a little dicey, but I'm glad that there's a support system around me and there are options, and it just is another opportunity to level up, and that's all I can ask for. So hopefully you enjoyed this podcast. Hopefully you enjoyed this. I didn't want to come across too doom and gloom, but I'm just tired. That's all that there is. I'm looking forward to time in the holidays to have a nice distraction. I'm looking forward to being boosted and flu shotted so I can feel a little more comfortable going out into the world. I'm, glad that there are less shows happening. I still need an income, but, less exposure. But, I wish you the best of times this holiday season. This episode is coming out on Christmas, or coming out the week of Christmas. So I hope you have some sort of wonderful holiday plan, that you do what you do. Getting together with the family, getting together with friends, all that fun stuff. And we'll see you in the next episode of the Dr. Snedeker podcast for one final episode. It might be 2. I don't know how many Sundays are left. I think it's just one more, but appreciate y'all for listening. See you next time.